Hello, good afternoon to you. Welcome to Midday Live from our New South Studios here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. We're live also on all our social media platforms at TV3 Ghana Plus on DSTV channel 279. My name is Noble Crosby-Annan. In the bulletin this afternoon, the coalition of civil society organizations demand the resignation of 2 new commissioners of the Electoral Commission. Also coming up, Korle Bu Teaching Hospital backtracks on new dialysis fees. We'll bring you some more news as government closes any opportunity for bondholders to participate in the reopened domestic exchange program as it hints of not accepting new tenders for this particular exercise. Plus some international news as video showing a young girl walking around seeking help after being raped sparks anger in India. We have details of these stories and a lot more coming to you shortly. Please stay with us. Let's begin with the details of the stories. And this afternoon, a coalition of civil society organizations has called on the 2 commissioners to resign immediately. The coalition described the 2 EC commissioners as partisan. The coalition, made up of CDD Ghana, CODEO, IDEG, amongst others, argue that their resignation will ensure that trust in the EC is protected. Speaking at a CSO roundtable discussion in Accra, Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana, Dr. Kojo Sante, called on the appointees to view their resignation as a sacrifice to protect the country's democracy.
CODEO has looked at if that option is not there, but I think we will say that is their sacrifice that they can make to Ghana. For me, that's the way I look at it. If they appreciate where we are coming from, I think that could be done. And I think the government can find other places, that they could easily serve. It is not about their competency and their capacity. I'm sure there are many other places where they can serve fully and without all that implication that we have for our elections. We also talk about continuing to appeal to the EC, but as I said, the EC process is almost done. So, and even the court cases have not been heard, so I don't know what effect that will have. Strengthen communication strategy to provide continuous comprehensive.
Well, my colleague Duke Menso Poku is following up on this story. He's joining us to provide us with some more updates and perspectives. Duke, good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us. This is a rather new call from the coalition of the CSOs. Tell us more about that.
Well, this call from the CSOs is part of various recommendations that the CSOs in the country are making based on their study and analysis of all election-related events in the country in the past 1 year and how they can impact the 2024 election. So at the very topmost of all the concerns, the key concerns that the CSOs made up of trusted civil society groups like CDD Ghana, IDEG, CODEO, on top of that is for the EC to restore its trust, the trust that people have in the Electoral Commission and the democratic process. And for them, this would happen if these 2 Electoral commissioners or these commissioners who were appointed earlier in the year decide to make themselves the ultimate sacrifice by going off, resigning, removing themselves from the commission because they are politically tainted. They believe that call has died down. I mean, it came up very much earlier on in the year when they were appointed. The NDC even went to the extent of petitioning the Council of State, but not much has become of it. And the coalition today at this roundtable discussion believe that if these two persons continue to stay on the Electoral Commission,
right,
the trust in the electoral process will be further weakened. And so they should honorably exit and see that as the ultimate sacrifice for the country to maintain its sanctity when it comes to electoral process. Some of the coalition members are even suggesting that there should be litigation, there should be court action, and that an appeal or just appealing to their conscience, their ethos would not work in this instance. They think that a court action rather will ensure that they move and, as a matter of law, get out of the way so that the Electoral Commission's sanctity and the trust that the citizens have in that commission will be solid going to the 2024 election, which they believe will be a very, very crucial election.
So, Duke, these two individuals we're talking about, Dr. Peter Piahene and Hadia Salina Tijani, they were appointed by the president and they generated some levels of disquiet. So they're asking them to resign. Were there concerns over the appointment authority or the appointing authority too in this regard, so that the discussion leaves the people who are appointed onto the commission to those who are now doing the appointment? Were there any calls made to the appointment authority?
Rather, Crosby, the calls have been for a holistic overhaul of how the Electoral Commission is viewed. So largely, the call has been on these members to exit while the country thinks about a much more fairer process to have an Electoral Commission that is truly independent. So calls to the electoral, to the appointing authority, which in this instance is the president, hasn't really, yielded that much fruit, because the Council of State, which is also a body that must be consulted in these appointments, have actually written back in response to a petition and said that, well, really, they really don't have a lot to do when it comes to these appointments. So they are calling on these members to resign, while later on in the future, or in the nearest future, a much more comprehensive conversation should be had so that these processes will be much fairer and will reflect the independent outlook of the East.
Duke, thank you so much. I'll get back to you for some more details in our subsequent bulletins. My colleague Duke Mensah Opoku speaking with us there. We're still talking about nation building as the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, is questioning the conduct of the police service in their handling of protesters and demonstrations. In a letter addressed to the IGP Commissioner, Joseph Whittal noted that the police response over the years against protesters have been disproportionate and leaves much to be desired. SHRAJ is making some recommendations. Let me walk you through some of the recommendations that the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice is making, about 6 of them. It talks about government's human rights awareness. Now, in essence, it is saying that the Ministry of Interior, the IGP and the National Security should be conscious of Ghana's human rights commitment to the citizens. This awareness should guide decision-making to balance various legitimate interests effectively. The next point is the protecting of management guidelines. It is asking the IGP to create guidelines, especially if none exist, for managing protests that incorporate human rights standards. Now, these guidelines are intended for use by law enforcement officials, particularly the police in such instances. The third recommendation from SHRAJ is human rights education. It is asking that the IGP and those responsible with security implement fresher courses on human rights and law relevant with UN AU standards for law enforcement agencies to enhance the understanding of human rights and the principles. There's also a mention of the legal processes in protest. Now, this is of interest because the most recent demonstration, when conflicts arise between law enforcement agencies and the protesters, the decision to seek a court injunction on the right to assemble should be conducted in a manner that allows protesters to challenge this decision in court of law, ensuring due process, essentially talking about the number of days available to conduct such engagements in the court. There's also the building of trust and rapport. The SHRAJ is asking the police service to encourage police and other law enforcement officials to establish trust and positive relationships with protesters treating them as citizens rather than troublemakers to facilitate peaceful protests. The last is balancing rights and restrictions. So law enforcement agencies should prioritize facilitating the realization of the freedom of assembly and other protected rights, unless restrictions are, listen carefully, genuinely necessary in a democratic society, considering factors such as public safety and national security. And these are factors that the police service often use to, in an attempt, stop, or as some may put, gag demonstrators from going about their lawful constitutional requirements. We'll be getting some more reactions on the latest directive from the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice to the Inspector General of Police, particularly in the face of an impending demonstration, the Occupy BOG demonstration by some minority members in Parliament, the NDC group in Parliament, as well as some other organizations, Arise Ghana, for instance. We'll be speaking with that pretty shortly. But in the meantime, to some other issues of national concern, as the management of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital says it has not started implementing a price review proposed by its renal dialysis unit after receiving public backlash over the proposed increase in the cost of dialysis from 380 cedis to 765 cedis. The hospital, in a statement, says the new rate has not been approved by Parliament for implementation. It says any plan to increase the charges has to be forwarded to Parliament to the Ministry of Health for approval, something that is yet to be done. There were suggestions that the decision was taken due to the removal of tax on reagents used in renal treatment, but management of the health facility rather concedes there are challenges controlling renal dialysis patients. It has assured the welfare of renal dialysis patients will be kept at the center of any of such discussions. Also, this is coming at a time when the ranking member of the Health Committee of Parliament, Kobna Minta Kando, raised concerns over the lack of Parliament sitting on the new fares proposed by the renal unit of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Well, still on matters concerning health, and the surge in kidney cases and its accompanying mortality rate in Ghana has been described as troubling by health experts. At the Kofi Anokye Teaching Hospital, every one of 3 patients who are battling kidney failure end up dying. This, according to a nephrologist at the facility, Dr. Elliot Kranting Tano, is due to the high cost of dialysis, coupled with the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital now backtracking on its latest decision. Let's speak with the ranking member of the Health Committee of Parliament, Kobna Minta Kando, for some more reactions to this. Mr. Kando, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. You had earlier raised concerns about the cost. Now, the hospital says the proposed review is yet to be approved. I'm sure this is coming as some good news to your ears.
It can never be good news. This is not good news. But what I want to say is that with immediate effect, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, the management must make some arrangement to make sure that those who are affected, those patients who paid the 765 Ghana cedis, must have their money back, must have their refund with immediate effect. And so it cannot be good news that you take money that is not due you, and because you say you no longer take, we should leave matters to lie low. So they must be refunded.
You were concerned about how the new fees, which hitherto was being charged by the facility, have not gone through Parliament. Now that we know the hospital is saying that it has to go through Parliament also, talk to us about the usual protocol for these adjustments. Must hospitals always seek parliamentary approval before raising the charges? How does this work in Parliament?
So this is what happens. Every public institution, including a teaching hospital, if they want to charge any fee, they will raise a proposal and then submit same through the ministry to the Ministry of Finance. Then Finance will then submit it to Parliament, and Subsidiary Legislation Committee will then sit on it. And so the sponsor agencies will then appear before the committee to defend why those charges must be allowed to go through. And so while the Parliamentary Subsidiary Legislation Committee is satisfied, then they will lay, so that's why it's called pre-lay, then they will lay to allow some number of days to pass or elapse, and then that will pass into law. And that is what we call the Fees and Charges Act.
So going forward, with the concerns that the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, for instance, is raising over the cost of reagent that prompted it to increase, the cost of reagent and dialysis treatment. What more would you expect from the appropriate authorities? We're talking about the Health Ministry, the Ghana Health Service, and government in general.
This is clearly wickedness on the part of government. It's insensitiveness on the part of government. And I think that, I knew that the government was insensitive, but I never thought that government could facilitate to push people into their early grave. I never thought government could do that. To the extent that government has removed exemptions on reagents or hospital equipment such that they will have to pass it on to the ordinary Ghanaian or the renal patient. For example, let's do this mathematics. If you decide to charge 765 Ghana cedis within 1 week, if you are supposed to attend, let's say 3 times, you pay more than 2,000. Within 1 month, you are paying more than 9,000. Even as a member of parliament, I can't afford it. So what you'll be doing is that more people will die anyway. More people will die. And so the government has a sole responsibility to deliver quality health care to the people of this country. So whatever it takes for government to make sure that these units or departments in our health facilities run 24 hours, that is the responsibility of government. That is the sole responsibility of government. And so I think that with immediate effect, government must remove those taxes. They must go back to the procurement cover, because there were some subsidies on those medications, or if you like, reagents and the procedure. And so government must go back to restore those interventions with immediate effect. That is what it is.
Mr. Kano, thank you so much. Kwabena Mintah Kano is the ranking member of the Health Committee in Ghana's Parliament. To an earlier story concerning the growing cost of living crisis, putting thousands of kidney patients at risk, forcing them to explore alternative treatments or even forgo treatment altogether. Now, this has led to lives being in danger, dreams unfulfilled, and families grappling with the loss of loved ones. Godwin Asidiba delves deeper in the following report.
Yes, at times I feel like I want to die.
A growing crisis is escalating in Ghana, posing a significant threat to healthcare access and human survival. In a quiet embrace of nature's shelter, an orphaned lady sheds tears. At 25, Mercy Mensah is grappling with the constant threat of kidney failure.
If I were having a parent, maybe my parents will try their best, but because of I feel sad.
This has been Mercy's daily routine for the past year, waiting for a miracle to happen.
I want to do my transplant because they say I should do the transplant. And dialysis, I don't get the money for dialysis. What about the transplant?
Following the high cost of living, she has to cancel her scheduled session due to the increasing medical fees.
When I get money, I go. When I don't get, I stay home.
Deprived of a regular life due to her condition, Mercy survives every day by a glimmer of hope, albeit her future is riddled with uncertainty. She needs $50,000 for a kidney transplant in India.
Imagine needing 3 rounds of trips a week just to access this critical treatment.
That amounts to over 400 journeys every year, putting an immense strain on patients and their families. And as if that weren't enough, the constant increases in fuel prices for petrol and diesel are sending transport fares skyrocketing, making these trips even more financially crippling.
Normally, they will need a vein. They will need a vein to put the needle in.
The increasing cost of dialysis is causing patients to face financial struggles, making it difficult to maintain their health. Daniel Mensah, not his real name, is facing the same struggle.
It has rendered me zero, ground zero. Always you are begging. The government should come in. If they can put it on the NHIS for us. But because of the cost of living. So right now, even if I have 100 cedis and I spend 20 cedis, now I have to spend 10 cedis because I'm come to pay 700 and something. So you can imagine.
He says the rising cost of dialysis is causing kidney patients to make life-threatening decisions as their lives are being impacted by the financial burden.
So most of them is because they were not getting proper treatment, where they were going was not proper. That is why they've lost their life. And because some of them don't have the money to go to the private. They didn't have the money to go to the private. I can mention, no need for names, but I can mention about 3 people's names. They died because they didn't have the money.
The cost of medication for kidney patients in Ghana has significantly increased.
There's a big issue as to now Korle Bu increasing their prices of dialysis, and now it's an uproar. But that is the situation on the ground. The taxes on the consumables are high, so people have to pay a lot to be able to. And that is why the people die from kidney disease, because the majority of patients cannot afford care. So it is really troubling. And
chronic kidney disease patients require regular dialysis sessions as a lifeline. But the increasing financial burden is causing a perilous dilemma. The cost of living crisis in Ghana is not just a statistic, it's a stark reality for kidney patients like Mercy and Daniel, who are grappling with the burden of their condition and the economic challenges it brings. Godwin Asidiba, TV3 News.
Away from that to some other subjects, this afternoon in the face of the 3rd October 2023 Occupy Bank of Ghana protest, the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice is questioning the conduct of the police service in the handling of protests and demonstrations. In a letter addressed to the IGP Commissioner Joseph Whittal, noted that the police response over the years against protesters have been disproportionate and leaves much to be desired. Sraj is making a lot of recommendations in this regard, including the retraining or re-education of some police officers, as well as establishing guidelines in the conduct of officers during protests. Let's speak with Bernard Moana, a member of the Arise Ghana, convener of the Arise Ghana movement, for some reactions on this. Mr. Moana, good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. The conduct of the police service was a matter of concern, particularly in the most recent Occupy Jubilee House protest. With the Occupy Bank of Ghana protest imminent, you've seen the letter from Sraj. What's your immediate reaction to that?
For a very long time, I have not responded good to any greetings, but I am compelled by the good news to say good afternoon to you, Crosby Annan, and to your many viewers. Majority of Ghanaians will agree that when you greet me, good morning, good afternoon, I respond morning or afternoon. But I have to respond good afternoon simply because for the first time in the annals of our nation's history and democracy, an institution has stood up to its responsibility by ensuring that other institutions that are undermining their responsibilities, and particularly that of citizens, that they be advised. And I'm extremely, and I'm sure that every political observer, every lover of democracy will be excited by this kind letter, advisory note that has been sent to the Inspector General of Police, particularly drawing their attention to the many maladministration when it comes to protestation in this country. And you can see that they took the issue from a very long history, even from the days of London, where the issue of child labor and all those child rights were brought into bear. In our own situation, you can realize that protestation has yielded positive benefits. The civil rights movement in the United States of America ensured that Black participation in democracy was well anchored. And therefore, the demonstration and protestation has drawn to the attention of duty bearers what ills exist in society and how those ills can be corrected. There is a popular cliche in Ghana that he who constructs roads does not know where it takes a curve or a bend. And it is those who are watching the road who will be able, from behind, who will be able to tell you that your construction is not straight or it has meandered. And so when people are in authority of governance and they are doing things that are unethical, they are doing things that are unjust, it can only take those of us who are not in government to be able to point them out. And anytime we want to do this, the police service in particular has been used to brutalize citizens for wanting to express their revulsion against some of the ills that confront us. Sometimes it even threatens you that some of the issues you are fighting against actually affect the institution of the Ghana Police Service. For instance, the sale of police barracks to private property developers and moving the police officials to other places. And you know the situation at the DVLA 37 police barracks, that all officers have been evacuated. That fight that we were fighting and still continue to fight, it's not about that, but it is also about the police service getting to enjoy certain benefits that are available to our nation. If the state inherited assets from previous administration, must that state not come to add onto it? Why do you come to sell those assets? For instance, a second position is when the Ghana law students were on protestation. Some ones of us joined them. We were brutalized until we got to the Canadian embassy. Those brutalizations led to widespread condemnation and the need for legal reforms. Today, you know what steps have been taken to ensure that majority of people can access legal education. And I can bet that those who will now benefit from it, some of them may come and become antagonistic towards those of us who even fought for their right to get school. So I want to commend Siraj for taking up this bold initiative to speak to the police service in the language that they should understand. And I agree that, look, some of the officials need to be trained on human rights laws because protestation and the enjoyment of fundamental human rights, it is enshrined in our constitution. And you know, demonstration is in the lives of education, it is the life of life and what have you. So if you cannot grant our rights, then it means that we are not a worthy institution to be respected.
Bernard Mona, thank you so much for your time with us. Bernard Mona spoke with us, the member of the Arise Ghana movement, speaking to some other subjects. And 3 labor unions of all public universities are threatening to withdraw the services on October 15 if government fails to restore the allowances owed them for 6 months. Our reporter, Evelyn Tingma, was at the press conference and brings us more. Evelyn, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Give us some more details and background on this decision by the labor unions of all the public universities to withdraw their services by October 15.
The 3 unions we are talking about here are the Ghana Association of Universities Administrators, Tertiary Education Workers Union Ghana, and the Senior Staff Association of Universities of Ghana. So apart from the lecturers of all the universities, all these staff or all the staff of all the public universities fall under these unions. So, because we can imagine if all the staff of the universities withdraw their services from the 15th of October as we have announced, because these are, they're talking about the security, they're talking about the administrators, they're talking about all other workers, the cleaners and all that. So if these people should withdraw their services, that would be bad for the universities. And so, because basically what they are asking government to do is to restore the allowances. And the allowances they are talking about are the car maintenance allowance, off-campus allowance, and overtime allowance. And they are saying that they signed a memorandum of understanding with government on December 8, 2022. And up to now, government has not fulfilled its promise. And so they think that it is time for them to remind government again and then take an action, because they also spoke about the fact that their pensions, tier 2, that's a tier 2 pension, are being deducted, but they don't know where the monies are going exactly. And so these are concerns that they have gone into agreement with government to get all these things resolved, but nothing is happening. So the press conference today was to remind government that they are going on the strike if their grievances are not resolved. And at the meeting also, because they mentioned that just before they had the hint, just before the finance ministry had a hint that they will be doing the press conference today, the deputy minister, Abinah Akari, called them yesterday to tell them that government was working on it, and so they should calm down and then wait for them. But they are saying that no, they have given you enough time. For 9 months now, they have not honored their promise, and so they will go ahead with their strike if nothing is done about it. Crosby.
Evelyn, thank you so much. Evelyn Tengma is our reporter there. We're still staying on labor-related issues because the Civil and Local Government Staff Association expected to abolish the Presidential Office Act 1993. According to Clocks Act, the current act has put excessive power in the hands of the president to make numerous appointments without recourse to the financial situation of the country. We're speaking at the 6th Nathan Annan Quails lecture in Accra. My colleague Daniel Opoku sat through the press. He's joining us to provide us with some more updates and perspectives. Daniel, good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us. Tell us more about this latest call by the group.
Right. So good afternoon to you, Crosby. Consistently, Clocks Act has been talking about the need for government to abolish the Presidential Office Act. That's Presidential Office Act 1993 as 463. Now, when we look at the position of the Act, we realize that the Act puts excessive power in the hands of the President, where the President does a lot of appointments. So right from the ministerial positions, right from ministerial appointments, all through to the various government agencies, all those appointments are done by the President. And the Clocks Act is of the view that that's a clear duplication of what the Civil Service Council is supposed to do. So clearly we realize that there are conflicting roles between what the Act says and also what the Civil Service Council Act also says. So Clocks Act is of the view that there should be the need for government to abolish that act and allow the civil service to play the lead role. And what is also profound and what is quite interesting in this year's lecture is the fact that they have been able to bring in a retired Supreme Court Justice John Doche, who is currently speaking to them on the Presidential Office Act. And when we listen clearly to what Justice Doche said, Justice Doche was basically saying that in 1993, when the act was passed, it was a one-sided parliament. Then that was when the NPP government then, 1993, decided to boycott the elections. So they did not participate in the elections. And that parliament, then the head of state, or former President George Rawlings, who together with the parliament were able to pass that one-sided law. And since 1993 to 2023, and to the surprise of Dr. Justice John Doche, from 2003, no president has even considered or has found it needful to get that particular act abolished. That is to his utmost surprise. And he also tries to join the call. There's a need for broader discussions on the Presidential Office Act. And in Crosby, it's also interesting to know that Article 71 office holders are coming from the Presidential Office Act. So clearly, if the act is abolished, then all Article 71 office holders are likely to forfeit their benefits under the act currently as I speak to you, Crosby.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us with those updates. Daniel Opoku is a Labour correspondent. They're speaking to us about the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, their call for the Presidential Office Act 1993 to be abolished. In a related development, the police service has been engaging the Trades Union Congress and other stakeholders days after the Occupy Jubilee House protest. The police high-handedness on the first day of the protest has attracted widespread condemnation. Let's listen to the Director of Public Affairs of the Police Service after the meeting.
We talked about management of public order events. We also looked at the general security situation in the country. We also highlighted on some strategic interventions that have been implemented by the current police administration. We also looked at the police preparations towards the Christmas and New Year festivities, and we also highlighted on management or security management of elections.
You're watching Midday Live on TV3. My name is Noble Crosby, and we're back with more stories after this break. Please stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period no say problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na me coin point no mo hwe me modam no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fire no ene ma won kra me nu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba and everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama no nura ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you of Acrobato. Hello hey ohwehwe what che okay a free bra wo di end point wa dance am me call you no me Johnson sema na enkoyie empaso na my emre nyina na magina sabema na me no be fie for there e ho na nyina jaresa. You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. I'm free.
Ghana for your friend me na dede se me gina ha na e Franco television papa amodia bejaso no na me gusu amidi ho dance e chiro se wasi hotels, offices, schools, apartments e Franco television ababawa abrantie ope TV di abawo dem a ye wo sizes bebre wo ho ye wo 24 inches wo ho ye wo 32 wo ho ye wo 43 wo ho ye wo 55 and akese 65 inches Way now den Franco Trading Enterprise a television papa and the border from a him here.
The expert at anything was once the beginner.
I seek for unmatched work experience that will prepare me for the real job.
Internship can help you stand out in a competitive job market.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Let's get some business news from Menua. From what's in the package this afternoon?
So, opportunity has been closed for bondholders to participate in the new domestic debt exchange program. We have the details in our bulletin and many other stories.
Over to you.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the business segment on Midday Live. My name is Menu Afo. In our first story, government has closed any opportunity for bondholders to participate in the reopened domestic debt exchange program as it hints of not accepting new tenders for this particular exercise. According to the Finance Ministry, government secured 3.9 billion cedis in the reopened exchange program. The domestic debt exchange program is part of government's efforts to reduce its debt burden and enhance its debt sustainability.
The Ministry of Finance stated that it will neither accept any new tenders
nor permit revocations or withdrawals. This means that the opportunity for bondholders to participate in the reopened domestic debt exchange program has closed. The settlement date for the new tranches has been set for September 29, 2023. This means that the government will honor the exchange and provide bondholders with their new securities on that date. Some bondholders have resisted this program even as government continues to defend and court their participation. Government argues it is essential for ensuring the long-term economic health of the country. The domestic debt exchange program is pertinent for government as it strives to fully implement policies for economic growth in the face of the ongoing economic challenges.
In more stories, Bank of Ghana has hinted of issuing a climate-related financial risk directive aimed at strengthening the banking sector. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, noted this is needed for business sustainability as climate risk is gradually becoming institutional risk.
A guide to banks in mainstreaming the fundamental tenets of sustainability in business and operations, leading to enhanced growth and increased returns. The issue of climate risk is increasingly becoming a material risk, especially for institutions exposed to vulnerable sectors of the economy. In this regard, the BOG is working on issuing a climate-related financial risk directive to provide guidance on addressing climate risk and related issues in the industry. Bank of Ghana will continue to monitor developments and ensure strict regulatory and ethical compliance in the banking sector to ensure a stable and resilient financial system, contributing significantly to the overall growth and development of our economy.
And that's how we wrap up the business segment on Midday Live with me, Menu Afo. We have more stories coming up, Cosby.
Anu, thank you for bringing us business. Let's bring you some more stories as the minority in Parliament has kicked against moves by the Bank of Ghana to hand over the National Investment Bank to the Agricultural Development Bank. According to the NDC MPs, the move smacks of conflict of interest since the Bank of Ghana owes over 60% stake in ADB. Addressing the media in Parliament, ranking member on the Finance Committee, Isaac Adonko, accused the Nana-Addo administration of seeking to sell the NIB to cronies through the back door. The Bogotanga Central MP shared some ideas with government which he believes can make the troubled NIB stand on its feet without government selling it off. My colleague Komla Kluche has details who will join us shortly, but first take a listen to this.
If the Bank of Ghana is not satisfied with NIB, it has several options, including placing NIB under administration like they place Unibank under administration, revoke the license of NIB because that is their property, but in revoking the license, they must take steps to ensure that depositors' funds are protected by placing it under receivership and proper supervision to close the face of life. But it is clear from the work that we are seeing and the actions of government that they are not intending to take a regulatory action. They are not intending to place NIB under Act 930, but they are trying to find a backdoor approach without regard to the law that set up NIB. And the law.
Well, let's get some more from Komla Kluche, who is following this press conference. Komla, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the program. What more do we know about this latest call by the minority MPs?
Well, the concerns has been expressed by the minority, led by the ranking member of the Finance Committee and the Bolga Central MP, Isaac Adonko, is the fact that if care is not taken, a lot of the staff of the National Investment Bank are going to go home. He's advising that there's a need for government to pay some further attention to the bank, or else, I mean, we'll get to a situation, and even as it is now, the standings of the bank is not what is on a good footing, and that they believe that the solutions that they are offering, the government, there's a need for them to go by. There's also the the suggestion or a solution being preferred by the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Tuposen, that they are going to file a private member's motion to, one, as a result of what's going on within the sector, deal with the issues that has to do with the National Investment Bank and also that of ADB. These are much concerned to them, and they think that as a matter of urgency, there's a need for the government to actually even pay up almost all the loans that owns the bank, so that the bank is able to come back on its feet.
Kamala, thank you so much. We'll get back to you for some more in subsequent bulletins. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. Sport News is up next after this. Well, let's cross over to Riku Ampofo for some sport news. Riku, what's in the package this afternoon?
And so we'll be focusing on the GFA elections with yet another injunction, being placed on them and adjourned. And it looks as if we don't even know when the elections will be taking place in the first place.
Anyways, bring us the details in sports.
Well, thank you very much. We'll start off from the GFA elections, where yesterday would have been the day for the elections of the Ghana Football Association. However, with the strings of court injunctions and issues hanging around the neck of the whole process, it has left a cloud of uncertainty around the elections. The following story puts things into perspective.
Injunction after injunction, one court case after the other. That has been the fate of the Ghana Football Association in the last few weeks. Before August, though, everything seemed fine. All looked well for the association to make the step into a second election since the normalization took over in 2019. The Ghana Football Association was in the middle of vetting its presidential aspirants until Division 1 League side King Faisal served a letter that contended that a legitimate Congress for the elections of the Ghana Football Association president cannot be held until new representatives of the executive committee have been properly elected. The GFA was forced to release a statement asking its members to remain calm while they head to court to argue out their case. The action suspended the election date. The elections were moved to October 5, but that also looks unlikely now after the disqualification of George Afriyie. Everything hangs in the balance. Journalist Collins Atapoku explains what all of this will mean for the FA.
He is not the only person who was disqualified because of the ineligibility of a member on his forms. Akambi suffered a similar situation. In Western Region, the RFA elections, there was a similar situation with one of the aspirants. But his is a bit murky at the moment. We are reliably informed that his lawyers are putting together a package for both local courts and then the Court for Arbitration for Sports, because he is of the view that it is difficult to get a stay of execution from the Court of Arbitration for Sports in such situations. And so he will be better off getting an injunction in one of our local courts and then also pursuing the CAS front at the same time.
The Football Association members trying to get into the top places are equally frustrated. Campaigns have gone on for months with no election dates in sight. Karela United CEO Eloy Amande, an aspirant for the Executive Council of the Football Association, says all issues must be heard to give way for the elections to begin.
It's a bit concerning that in our minds, today would have been the date, post the first day that was scheduled, the 27th, and would have been celebrating a victory because we think that the delegates who will be voting have understood the message we are articulating and believe in the vision that the reason why we want to get on the exco. But as a lawyer as well, I know that everybody needs to go through due process. So if there are people with concerns, they've got issues around the process, then they've got every right to go through and have their grievances heard.
With the Africa Cup of Nations only 3 months away, football fans across the country will be hoping that the elections will go ahead soon for a smooth transition to the business end of things.
Well, what we do know is that as things do stand, the GFA elections were set to take place October 5th, but the case between King Faisal and the Secretariat has been adjourned to October 12th. We'll keep on bringing you updates on what that means for the elections. But before we go, just a bit of news from the NBA, where seven-time All-Star Damian Lillard play alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee in a deal that ends a 3-month saga surrounding his future. Lillard goes from the Trail Blazers to the Bucks in a 3-team deal that sends Jrue Holiday from the Bucks to Portland, DeAndre Ayton from Phoenix to Portland, and Yusuf Nurkic from Blazers to the Suns.
Dame double team, spins between defenders into the lane. He motors right to the rack and laid it up and in. And this is a little. Eason will give Dame to Christopher, and Christopher on his heels is listed at 226. He's every bit of that. Dame off the screen, leads into a triple. Got it.
See, like that. That's what I'm talking about. If they keep
his feet, beautiful guy.
Now he's got to finish the job, though.
Well, definitely does make a good look with regards to the new NBA season that's upcoming. That's how I'll be wrapping up the sports here with me, Ray Kwampofo. Up next on the bulletin is entertainment with Noella.
First of all, rap me here so me doing the Lydia.
Every woman is all in me. Anything, all I know is.
Some of us stood out with our showmanship and outstanding performances.
Most of us with great voices took our chances on the biggest music reality show.
Don't forget lyrical abilities and style.
Mentor is God, and the moment to shine is now.
The Mentor audition train stops in Tamale on the 24th of September at the Gariba Lodge. Kumasi on the 26th of September at the Akuma FM premises. In Takoradi on the 29th of September at Connect FM. And finally in Accra on the 1st of October 2023 at the TV3 premises. Time is 8 a.m. each day.
You can become the next winner. Don't miss out.
Mentor 12. The world awaits you.
Mentor is brought to you by Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil and Napa Foods Sense Body Spray.
Bell Ice.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, just like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer with a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my waist to a knockout like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast that I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to all the extensive highlights, analysis, and insights. So do join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 3FM 92.7 as we serve you the best sports buffet and most satisfying in the sports world. The 3 Sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in the sports world here on Sports Ultras.
Well, the weekend is here with us already. Let's get some entertainment news from Noella Donk. Over to you, Noella.
Thank you so much. Let's get into the details of some entertainment here on Midday Live. My name is Noella Donko. Now, the 2023 World Tourism Day has been marked in Ghana with a call to action for stakeholders to chart a new course for the growth of the sector, centered on environmental conservation, job creation, and economic resilience. Now, themed tourism and green investments, the celebration highlighted the critical need for sustainable and eco-friendly practices in the sector to promote responsible tourism. The World Tourism Day is marked on the 27th of September each year to showcase the tourism sector's unique ability to drive economic growth, preserve and promote culture and heritage, and provide opportunities for all. Held in the beautiful city of Adan, This year's celebration, themed Tourism and Green Investments, highlighted the power of green investments in creating a better world. The Deputy Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture, Marco Kwekumante, encouraged stakeholders to adopt more responsible practices, citing the far-reaching economic, social and environmental benefits of green investment to communities.
We must accept it that our world today, we don't even need a scientist to tell us that it's become extremely warm. When I was growing up, I mean, you could sleep in your bedroom without any air conditioning system. But today, any young person is looking for money to purchase an air conditioning system because it is warm. And we've caused it by how we have abused the environment. Tebeka One Galam say, today people are mining the sand by the sea. We are destroying the earth we live on. And so all we are saying is that we should get people to understand that it's about time we protected Earth, Mother Earth, by taking the right decisions. Environment clean. Let's not destroy nature. Whatever you touch, make sure you sustain it.
Akosi Ajimang is the CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority.
There's a call to action that we should be mindful of our actions and how our actions are impacting the environment negatively. Celebrate this day, and we're talking about green investment. Ghanaians, we need to change our attitudes towards the environment. When you eat food, you drink water, hold on to your quote-unquote trash. Take it home or find a dustbin and put it in. It's also a call to action for business owners to start looking at sustainable ways of doing business. We cannot continue to degrade the environment.
Other key stakeholders, including the paramount chief of Adar Traditional Area, Nene Kabu Akwaku III, called for policies and regulations to promote responsible tourism in order to protect the planet and drive economic growth. The 2023 World Tourism Day celebration started with a tour of the Inchinchim Museum in Adar, a space dedicated to visual archiving of African history and African heritage by officials of the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, Ghana Tourism Authority and other key stakeholders. The team also took a ferry trip on the River Volta, touring around the Adar estuary and at the various islands dotted along the River Volta. Well, the mental audition train is still moving, and tomorrow in Takoradi at Connect FM, the mental audition train will be making its third stop after a successful audition in Tamale and Kumasi. Talents in the coast can now grab the opportunity to showcase their vocal abilities and bring on their A-game. If you missed the first two auditions, join us at Connect FM in Takoradi tomorrow 8 a.m. sharp. Auditions are absolutely free, so grab the opportunity to make the world your oyster. Well, that's how we wrap up on the entertainment news segment here on Midday Live. My name is Noella Donko. Up next is international news.
A video showing a young girl walking around seeking help after being raped has sparked anger in India. Many people expressed outrage after CCTV footage showed a man appearing to wave the girl away when she approaches him. But police told local media that the girl who walked around Ujjain city in Pradesh for more than 2 hours was helped by some people. A senior police official said a medical examination showed the girl was raped, but police is yet to confirm the girl's age. A short CCTV video which surfaced online this week sparked condemnation from politicians and on social media. It shows the girl, who appears to be bleeding, walking on the road on Monday. At one point, she approaches a man who seems to wave his hand at her before walking away. Police say they are reviewing the footage from the area to trace the route the girl walked before she got help.
Well, that's our package for you this afternoon, but there's always more news on our website, 3news.com, if you log on for more. My name is Noble Crosbyan, and on behalf of the TAP production team, thank you so much for watching the bulletin. See you again some other time. Good afternoon to you. Bye-bye.